With the events that are going on around our world and the very real threat that we might face world war, or even worse, nuclear war, in the next couple of months, we get asked often on the channel what we are doing here to get ready for what's coming. As many of you know, we have a homestead up north. We stockpile food, we have our medicine ready, we have our first aid, our wilderness survival skills, our defensive measures, and our offensive measures are well in order. But what are we doing to get ready for a nuclear event? A lot of what we do, I believe, is passive in nature, or it's just more of the survival living that we like to employ. There are a couple of key things that we do in readiness for it. I've mentioned here on the channel how pectin, natural fruit pectin, especially apple pectin, is able to remove cesium from the body and pass it through the urine and the feces. They showed this with great success in the children that were exposed to radiation after the Chernobyl incident. If you look right now, Russia just took control of Chernobyl. We could once again see an incident that doesn't just stop at Chernobyl, at Ukraine, at Russia. It might affect the entire world. But a lot of things that we do here are, like I said, passive in nature. The first thing that many of you know that we advocate for and we have for years is a Berkey filter. This is one of the larger Berkey models. We have two models in particular, and this one I believe holds 6 gallons at the bottom and it roughly fits around 5 gallons at the top. Now, the Berkey Blacks, I won't put anything else in here except Berkey Blacks. Berkey Blacks are a unique, I believe it's a patented blend of carbon coconut fiber. And it's been packed together in a way that is going to remove viruses, remove bacteria, remove volatile organic and inorganic compounds. So if you're putting something in it like gutter water from the street, it has a high degree of efficiency in being able to take out a level of those nasties that you don't want going into your body. But something even more spectacular works with the Berkey Blacks. It has the ability to remove some alpha emitting and beta emitting particles in the black filters. Now, these, as you know, just went up in price. They went up like 30% because everything around our planet is going up in price. But luckily we had these beforehand and we have stocked back a couple of black filters for the just in case measures. Now, this again for me is not something that I'm going to rely on. If I see the mushroom cloud, I'm not going to stay right where I'm at, right where I see it. And I'm not going to just filter the water off of the ground and put it through here and expect to be okay. Of course, that would be madness. The first thing that I'm going to do is get out of there. I'm going to remove myself from radiation as far as I potentially can, and then I'm going to try and find water that I bring up from the ground, from deep underneath the ground, where of course it has already been exposed to some levels of radiation at different places around our planet, and then I'm still going to filter it using Berkey filters. Now, if I don't have access to these, hopefully I at least have my blacks with me and I can make some sort of rudimentary bucket system, but I'm going to use those Berkey Blacks as long as I can. If I don't have that, I'll be using a sand filter. I've showed you, or at least our Patreon members, how to make a sand filter using sand, gravel, charcoal. And what you're doing is allowing an algae layer at the top, or what's called the Schmutzdeck, and you are allowing those layers to catch the particulates, the VOCs, and everything else that's inside of it. So this Berkey filter is an everyday use for us. Every day we fill up the top, let it drain to the bottom, and right now with this 6 gallon model, we are at about, I would say, 1.5 fills per day. We use it for everything from our coffee that you probably see in the background using the coffee press. We use it for cooking noodles. We use it for our rice. We use it for our drinking. We use it literally for everything. In fact, in our fridge, we have reused plastic juice bottles. They're gallon bottles that we fill with this water we put in the fridge so that we always have access to cold filtered water. In different environments, whether you're in the city or you're taking out well water, what you're going to be doing is cleaning it up a little bit. Now, again, that's just one of the passive things that we do. Looking at radiation and as it pertains to our ability to remain healthy as humans, there are so many different unknowns. First thing that I want to say is don't believe any misinformation or disinformation that you'll read in the comments of this video or any other video that says radiation isn't real, that says nuclear power isn't real, and that says nuclear accidents cannot happen. Misinformation and disinformation across the board. They have shown over and over again that things like x-rays, things like cell phones, even cell phones and wireless radiation, when put next to plants, those plants don't thrive. X-rays, they've seen when you x-ray animals too many times, they get cancerous lesions. They don't thrive. We know it's real. The first thing that I need to be able to do is recognize where it is and how much of it is going to affect me. There's a lot of misguided information in pertaining to what is lethal and non-lethal doses and what they were going to be called. If you would just say that radiation had one single measurement and that one measurement would allow you to know how much radiation was safe to take in and how much was too much, it'd be easy. But there is so much science and confounded science, I would say, that there are all sorts of different measurements, from sieverts to Röntgens to millisieverts to all manner of different verbiage terms of verbiage and ways of looking at radiation. I use one thing to watch out for something that I believe has a chance to harm me and my family. I'm going to show you right here, and I believe you'll hear a little bit of the clicking. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the chirping. I didn't have quite as much time as I'd like before starting this video to put it in the freezer, because you're going to notice chirping and activation of the alert with a extreme temperature change. But let me just quiet down and let you listen. Okay, so this is a Nukalert. I'm going to leave the links to these items down in the description box. A Nukalert is a keychain device that is basically an oh my god, I have to leave device, and that's how I use it. This is going to chirp louder. It's going to give you an audible notice of radiation that's reading Röntgens louder toward radiation and less frequently, not louder, more frequent toward radiation and less frequent away from it. So basically, if you're in a position where you see the blast, now you can count the chirps and know how quickly you need to get out of that area before the fallout comes. If you don't see the blast but you hear the chirps, now you can count how many Röntgens you are exposed to and know how far you need to get away until you no longer hear those chirps. Now on the back of this, it has, of course, a link to a detailed chart and things like that. I'll go ahead and just put it up on video so that you guys can kind of see what it looks like there. And it's just a small keychain device. It's not very big at all. I think it runs around $160 to $200. On the back, it has number of chirps from 1 to 10 plus Röntgens per hour, time to 100 Röntgen exposure. Basically, I'm using it in a way that says if I hear this go off, I'm out. I'm going to find a way to get out. I'm going to take my family out, and I'm going to find safer ground, safer underground, if that is what I need to do. So this is just another passive way of getting ready. I don't have the funds to build a $10 million bunker with a full service employee regimen that will go through and make sure that it's always growing 100 years worth of food. I just don't have that. So what I do have is passive things that I can do, and that's what preparedness is about for me and my family. And I hope that it's about that for you. It's not about an end-all be-all. You don't live your life in a completely risk-free environment. You take educated risks, you take educated guesses every time you go to the store. Rather than driving on a motorcycle with your hands off the wheels, you put your hands on the wheels. You might wear a helmet. In a car, you might put a seatbelt on. In a house, you might have a fire extinguisher. Walking in a bad part of town, you might have a defense tool. You might have a flashlight if it's dark. All of these things have potentials to save your family. These are, again, just more passive things that can help you save your family. Now, one of the biggest ticket items that is going out of stock everywhere is, iodide. But first, I want to read to you a little bit more about the Nukalert. So Nukalert, what does it do? This is directly from the site itself. It's a calibrated radiation meter that alarms when exposed to dangerous levels of nuclear radiation. It does not respond to relatively safe or low-level radiation. Its primary utility is to aid in the location and evaluation of shelter during an emergency. I'm going to skip around here, so I don't have everything on here. The approximate radiation intensity is indicated by the number of chirps produced per group. The lowest is 0.1 Röntgen per hour, which will cause a chirp every 35 seconds. With each doubling, an additional chirp is added to the alarm chirp group. What is a Röntgen? A Röntgen is an amount of radiation, and I mistakenly called them Röntgens for a long time, but Röntgen was the name of the physics founder, the last name of the person who found it. It's about 1% of the amount that is the threshold for radiation sickness. Basically, what that's telling you is for every Röntgen that you get, if you get 99 more, your is grass pretty soon. You know, the S has already hit the fan where you're standing right there. And you need to get out. In a healthy adult that does not exceed a dose of 100 Röntgens received in a short time, they are unlikely to experience acute radiation sickness. Government agencies advise limiting to 5 Röntgen per year, or 50 for an emergency worker. Isn't that funny how an emergency worker, they accept that they're going to be, driven towards cancer more than anyone else. But a lot of the information on Nukalert is available on the website. I'm going to leave links down there. Basically, it's a great little tool that allows you to say, okay, if I know something bad is happening here, I know where the other directions go. And if it's getting worse that way, I'm going to go west. If it's getting worse west, I'm going to go east. And you keep going in that manner. So let's say you know radiation is there. What do you do next? How do you handle that next step? For me, it's Ki, potassium iodide. It's not to be confused with iodine. These are potassium iodide tablets. Now, the government has plenty of information available on websites that is rather good information, including the government agencies in New York has great radiation evaluation information. That information gives you dose-specific amounts based on weight or age. It tells you what to expect from radiation sickness. Radiation is basically ionized air, things that are happening. And let me just try to give you kind of like the baseline here. Let's say you don't know anything about what radiation is. They're basically invisible bullets. These invisible bullets have the chance to pass through your DNA, through your atoms, basically exploding them, causing harm. And once, as you might know, a person who smokes or a person who drinks, well, science is very confused why one person can smoke for 80 years and not get cancer, and another person can smoke for 5 and get cancer. Both of them are doing the same thing, so why does it affect one? Well, the science kind of believes that there's an unknown for each person. You basically have an unknown threshold. And in that threshold, if you don't mitigate risk as much as you can, you're asking for trouble. And once you start to have DNA damage, your body's always working to repair damage, right? I scratched myself, just a little scratch. You just saw me do it on camera. That's DNA damage. A bicycle rider who does it for a profession. He rides his bike and he gets his testicles hit on that seat all the time. Well, if I ride my bike, there's a very low chance I'm going to cause damage there. But because he's having that damage over and over and over again, there's a high chance that he'll get testicular cancer as his body tries to repair that DNA damage. These tablets, of course, do not repair DNA damage. They are merely a mitigation measure. If you breathe in fallout radiated air and that radiation accumulates inside of your lungs, you have a higher chance of getting lung cancer. No matter which way you look at it, radiation is not a good thing. If you live a healthier lifestyle and do better things, you have a higher chance of being able to filter out more radiation than someone who doesn't. But number one, across the board for me in all manners, is passive mitigation. risk assessment, making sure that my family knows what is happening and has the chance to make moves. You know, it's kind of like they say it takes money to make money, because the person who has money has opportunity. And with his opportunity or her opportunity, they're given access to more options in life. And so that's what I want you and your family to have. I want you to be able to, if you choose to do what I do, drink healthier water. I want you to know where radiation is. I want you to know that you can go in the other direction when you acknowledge it. I want you to, eat better. Kelly and I, and let me say this above anything else. We spent Friday afternoon at a strawberry festival with our child. It was a long drive. And we had the greatest time doing little more than watching our youngest have fun on all the rides. Kelly wasn't a fan of the Ferris wheel, but she went up there for him time and time again to make sure that he had fun. Some of the faster, more jerky rides went and just made sure that he had fun. And in doing so, we all had fun. And so spending time together with your family and doing the things that you can do and want to do are going to be those things that you look back on as the world gets worse. And you go, okay, those were great times, and I'm glad I took advantage of those opportunities. We also had another great opportunity. We were able to pick up some amazing strawberries for a dirt cheap price, because these in particular were going to, they were going to be ripe the soonest. We got some others that weren't quite there yet that we're holding back. These will be turned into preserves and jams, and we gave them to some friends and some family members and some people that we had said, hey, we'll give you some strawberries if we go. But it's part of a healthier lifestyle. I had people ask here on the channel, what we're doing with our wheat berries and turning them into sprouts. So this is a newest batch. We have some over there, but this batch here has, some that are sprouting right now. We're going to put this in our stir fry. We're going to eat them on our salads. It's just trying to live better when and where you can. You can still buy wheat berries for pretty cheap. And you'll hear, I don't know if you'll hear some of the chirping in the background. Okay, I think you might have just heard the chirping start. It takes a little while when you're doing that temperature change, but that's what the chirp will sound like instead of just the clicking. The clicking is basically it saying, hey, I'm working. And it was working to gather that information and give you actionable intelligence. So please, if you are looking to prepare for what's coming, you probably heard it again, do it in a passive way. Do it in a way that makes sense. Do it in a way that you can afford to do. But please know that now is the time to get ready for those unknowns, for the things that we don't even realize as a potential danger. Or maybe we do, but we try to say, well, if that happens, the whole world's gone to poop. There are things that we can do right now. And be with me that if you hear me making a video telling you that's chirping, you better know for your last bullet that it will be while I'm on the move, because I don't care how mobile or how immobile I think I am, or how much I'm married to one place or another. I'll be taking my family, whether I have to put them on my backs or on a bike, or what do they call it, Kel, when a police officer takes over a car? No, not what she said, hijack. Not when a police officer does it. They call it like, I'm sure you guys will know in the comments. You'll be able to tell me when, the FBI says, no, that's not it either. But, they have the official permission to basically steal your car or hijack, like she said, for official government use. Well, I'm sure that I will be, finding a way to make sure that my family is safe. So if you see me making a live video with that chirping, I'll tell you which way I'm not going. And I would hope that you guys follow suit. Please, everyone, watch what is happening in the world around us. Make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities, including spending time with your family. Stay safe and keep watch.